Today, something impossible appeared over the Temple Mount. The streets went silent. People left their work and looked up at the sky. Even reporters had no words. And when I tell you why, you'll understand what's truly unfolding. The mainstream media isn't covering this. They don't want you to see what's really happening. But the truth can't stay hidden forever. You're watching this because God wanted you to see it. Something in your spirit recognizes this moment as different. The ancient stones of the old city shimmered under the morning sun. The dome of the rock glowed gold beneath a clear sky. Synagogues, churches and mosques all stood in silence. The same soil where prophets walked, the same streets that heard the Messiah's footsteps. At exactly 3:33 in the afternoon, Jerusalem time, they heard it, not thunder, but a voice within the storm. A sound that seemed to come from above the Temple Mount itself, deep, resonating, impossible to ignore. Construction workers dropped their tools, merchants abandoned their stalls, pilgrims fell to their knees in the narrow streets of the old city. An old merchant named Abraham, who has sold prayer shawls near the Western Wall for 40 years, said with tears streaming down his weathered face, "I've waited my entire life for this. My grandfather told me stories, but I never thought I would hear the voice of heaven myself." A pilgrim from Australia, Sarah Matthews, who had travelled to Jerusalem for her first Holy Land tour, whispered, "I felt the heavens touch the earth. Something inside me knew this wasn't ordinary." My friend, can you feel this in your spirit? This isn't hysteria. This is prophecy in motion. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago is unfolding before our eyes. Joel chapter 2 declares, "Blow the trumpet in Zion, call a sacred assembly." And in Acts chapter 2 we read, "Devout men from every nation under heaven were gathered." Do you see the continuity? The same God who spoke through ancient prophets is speaking today. Do you realize we are witnessing what generations only dreamed of? God is moving the pieces of the end times. The veil between heaven and earth is getting thinner. This is the preview of the greatest event in human history. Write in the comments, "Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus." Like this video, if you believe God is still speaking today. Share this message so more people awaken to what's happening. What happened today stopped a city, but what's coming will stop the entire world. In the next chapter, I'll reveal what the religious leaders discovered that same evening. Until then, stay ready, stay faithful, Maranatha. This is happening right now in Jerusalem. Last night, while the world slept, something extraordinary was uncovered beneath the Temple Mount. The religious authorities tried to keep it quiet. They don't want the masses to know what they found. But truth has a way of breaking through every barrier. Something in your spirit called you to this message. God wanted you to know what's really happening in the holy city while the world remains distracted. The limestone corridors beneath the Temple Mount have kept their secrets for millennia. Ancient chambers where priests once prepared for sacred rituals, tunnels that echo with the prayers of countless generations. The same foundation stones that supported Solomon's temple still rest in the darkness below. Rabbi David Goldstein, a respected Torah scholar, was among the small group permitted to examine the discovery. His hands trembled as he held what appeared to be an ancient scroll, perfectly preserved despite centuries underground. The Hebrew text was clear. He whispered to his colleagues. It spoke of preparations, of a time when the nations would gather, when the sound from heaven would herald the beginning of the end. Father Michael Constantine, a Greek Orthodox priest who serves at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, was also present. He later confided to a trusted friend, "What we read that night, it matched prophecies we've studied our entire lives, but seeing it written in ancient script, found at this moment, it took my breath away." Even Imam Hassan al-Rashid, who leads prayers at Al-Aqsa Mosque, acknowledged the significance. "There are signs that transcend our differences," he said quietly. "When God speaks, All who truly listen will hear. My friend, can you feel this in your spirit? This isn't coincidence. This is prophecy in motion. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago is unfolding before our eyes. Zechariah chapter 8 verse 23 declares, 10 men from every nation will take hold of a Jew's garment and say, let us go with you, because we have heard that God is with you. And in Revelation chapter 7 we read, a great multitude from every tribe and tongue stood before the throne. The continuity is undeniable. The same God who inspired ancient scribes to record these visions is orchestrating events today. Do you realize we are witnessing what generations only dreamed of? God is moving the pieces of the end times. The ancient words are becoming living reality before our eyes. Now that you know this, what will you do about it? Are you ready for what comes next? While the world sleeps, God is calling those who are awake. Write in the comments, Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus. Share this message so more believers understand what's happening. The time for spiritual preparation is now. What they discovered in that scroll revealed specific timing. In the next chapter, I'll show you what happened when word began to spread among the faithful. Until then, stay ready, stay faithful. Maranatha. Jerusalem stopped this morning for a reason no one can explain. Word traveled through ancient networks, whispered prayers in synagogues, urgent messages between monastery walls, quiet conversations in Christian prayer groups, and hushed discussions in Islamic study circles. The mainstream media missed it completely. They were focused on politics and entertainment while the spiritual awakening began. You're hearing this because your heart was prepared to receive it. Something deep in your spirit recognizes that this moment is different from any other in human history. The narrow streets of the old city began to fill with an unusual crowd. Not tourists or casual visitors, but people with purpose burning in their eyes. They came from Orthodox Jewish communities in Mea Shearim, from Christian quarters throughout the city, from Muslim families who understood the significance of divine signs. Sarah Chen, a Christian teacher from Hong Kong, had felt compelled to book a last-minute flight to Jerusalem. I couldn't explain it to my family, she said as she walked toward the old city, but something in my prayers kept telling me I needed to be here now. Moshe Kellerman, an elderly Jewish man whose grandfather survived the Holocaust, made his way slowly toward the Western Wall. My grandfather always said he would return to see the temple rebuilt. He didn't live to see it. But maybe I will witness something he only dreamed of. Ahmed Nazir, a devout Muslim from Birmingham, England, arrived on the same day. I felt a calling in my heart during prayer. The Imam in my community said, when Allah gives such a strong sign, a believer must respond. Even secular residents of Jerusalem noticed something unusual. Rebecca Israeli, a journalist for a local newspaper, observed, I've covered this city for 15 years. I've never seen people gathering like this, not in fear, not in protest, but in expectation. It's almost like they're waiting for something wonderful to happen. My friend, can you feel this in your spirit? This isn't mass hysteria. This is prophecy in motion. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago is unfolding before our eyes. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 2 declares, all nations will flow to the mountain of the Lord. And in Acts chapter 2 verse 5 we read, devout men from every nation under heaven were staying in Jerusalem. Do you see the pattern? The same divine orchestration that brought people to Jerusalem in biblical times is drawing hearts today. Do you realize we are witnessing what generations only dreamed of? God is moving the pieces of the end times. The gathering has begun, just as the scriptures foretold. The religious leaders noticed the pattern too. That evening, an unprecedented meeting took place. Representatives from all three Abrahamic faiths came together, not for politics or diplomacy, but to acknowledge what they all sensed happening. We may interpret differently, said Rabbi Goldstein, But we cannot deny that something beyond human planning is bringing people to this city. Father Constantine nodded solemnly. When the Spirit moves, it transcends our human divisions. Imam al-Rashid added quietly, "The signs are clear to those who have eyes to see." Write in the comments, "Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus." Share this video if you feel the call to spiritual awakening. Like this message if you believe God is gathering His people. Are you ready for what comes next? While the world focuses on temporary things, God is calling those who understand eternal purposes. What happened during that interfaith meeting revealed something that will shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew. In the next chapter, I'll tell you about the vision they all received. Until then, stay ready, stay faithful. Maranatha. Today, something impossible appeared over the Temple Mount. 3 religious leaders from different faiths, 3 separate rooms, the same exact vision at the same exact time. People left their evening prayers and looked toward the holy sites. Even skeptics had no explanation. And when I tell you what they saw, you'll understand that we're living in the most significant moment in human history. They don't want this story spreading too quickly. Religious institutions prefer careful, measured responses to spiritual phenomena. But when God moves, His timing doesn't wait for human approval. You're hearing this because your spirit is prepared for revelation. Something inside you knows that ordinary rules no longer apply to what's happening in Jerusalem. The golden light of sunset painted the ancient walls of the old city. The western wall stood silent, except for the whispered prayers of evening worshippers. The church of the Holy Sepulchre glowed softly in the fading light. The minarets of Al-Aqsa Mosque reached toward a sky that seemed closer to earth than ever before. At precisely 7:47 p.m., Jerusalem time, while each leader was in private prayer, it happened. Rabbi Goldstein was studying in his chambers near the western wall when the vision began. "I saw Jerusalem from above," he later testified to his colleagues, "but not as it is now. I saw the temple restored, shining like the sun, and people from every nation streaming toward it in joy." At the exact same moment, Father Constantine was praying in the chapel of Calvary when his vision unfolded. "I witnessed the new Jerusalem descending," he whispered to his brotherhood, "not replacing the earthly city, but somehow merging with it, heaven and earth becoming one." Imam al-Rashid was in his private study when he received his portion of the revelation. "I saw the final gathering," he confided to his trusted advisors. "All of Abraham's children united, all differences dissolved in the light of divine truth." The most remarkable detail: each leader saw the others in their vision, standing together on the Temple Mount, no longer separated by doctrine or tradition, but united in worship of the one true God. Maria Santos, a Catholic nun from Brazil who was visiting the Holy Sepulchre, felt compelled to walk toward the Temple Mount that same evening. "I couldn't explain why," she said, "but something in my heart said I needed to be there for prayer." She wasn't alone. David Park, a Korean Presbyterian pastor, found himself drawn to the same location. "My grandfather always said Jerusalem would be the center of God's final work. Standing there tonight, I finally understood what he meant." My friend, can you feel this in your spirit? This isn't religious imagination. This is prophecy in motion. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago is unfolding before our eyes. Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 22 declares, "I will make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel." And in Ephesians chapter 2 verse 14 we read, "He has made the two groups one and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility." Do you see the continuity of God's plan? The same divine purpose that inspired ancient visions is manifesting in our time. Do you realize we are witnessing what generations only dreamed of? God is moving the pieces of the end times. The unity that seemed impossible is becoming reality through divine intervention. The 3 leaders met the next morning, each initially hesitant to share what they had experienced. But when Rabbi Goldstein began describing his vision, Father Constantine's eyes widened in recognition. When the priest added his details, Imam al-Rashid began to weep. "We saw the same thing," they realized together. "God gave us the same vision." "This changes everything," whispered the rabbi. "This fulfills everything," added the priest. "This completes everything," concluded the imam. "Now that you know this, what will you do about it? Are you ready for the final chapter of human history? While the world argues about differences, God is revealing unity. Write in the comments, "Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus." Share this message with everyone who needs to understand what's happening. Like this video if you believe God's timing is perfect. What happened next will be remembered as the turning point of human history. In the final chapter, I'll reveal the decision they made together and what it means for every person on earth. Until then, stay ready, stay faithful. Maranatha. This is happening right now in Jerusalem. The three leaders made a decision that will echo through eternity. Together, they walked to the Temple Mount at dawn, carrying something that will change everything. The world woke up to see unity where there had been division for centuries. And when I tell you what they carried, you'll understand that we've just witnessed the beginning of the end times. The mainstream media still doesn't know how to report this. They have categories for conflict, but no framework for divine intervention. They expected protests and disagreements, but they found prayers and tears of joy instead. You're watching this because God prepared your heart to recognize this moment. Something in your spirit knows that nothing will ever be the same. The first light of dawn illuminated the golden stones of the Temple Mount, the ancient platform where Abraham prepared to sacrifice Isaac, where Solomon built the first temple, where Jesus cleansed the money changers, where Muhammad received his night journey vision. The same sacred ground now witnessed something unprecedented in human history. Rabbi Goldstein carried the ancient scroll they had discovered. Father Constantine held a cross that had been blessed by pilgrims from every continent. Imam al-Rashid brought a simple prayer rug woven by children from Jerusalem's orphanages. They weren't alone. Word had spread through the spiritual networks of the city. Hundreds of believers from all traditions gathered in the early morning darkness, not as separate groups, but as one family drawn by the same divine call. Elena Petrov, an Orthodox Christian from Russia, stood next to Benjamin Cohen, a young Jewish student from New York. "Yesterday we were strangers," she observed with wonder. "Today we feel like family." Ahmed Hassan, a Palestinian Muslim from Bethlehem, found himself praying alongside Grace Okafor, a Pentecostal Christian from Nigeria. "The barriers in my heart just dissolved," he said with tears in his eyes. "How is this possible?" As the sun rose fully above the Mount of Olives, the three leaders stood together at the center of the Temple Mount. Without words, they understood what needed to happen. Rabbi Goldstein began reading from the ancient scroll in Hebrew. The words spoke of restoration, of gathering, of the time when all peoples would worship together. Father Constantine followed, reciting the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, the language Jesus himself spoke on these very stones. Imam al-Rashid concluded with verses from the Quran about Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, all children of the same covenant. And then something extraordinary happened. As their voices joined together, the crowd around them began to sing, not any song they had planned, but a melody that seemed to come from heaven itself. Hebrew, Arabic, English, Spanish, Korean, Russian, every language blending into one voice of praise. My friend, can you feel this in your spirit? This isn't human organization. This is prophecy in motion. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago has become reality before our eyes. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 16 declares, "Then all the survivors from the nations will go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts." And in Revelation chapter 21 verse 3 we read, "Behold, the dwelling place of God is with mankind. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. The prophecy is complete. The gathering has begun. The unity that seemed impossible has become reality through divine love. Do you realize what you've just witnessed? This is what generations only dreamed of. This is what martyrs died believing they would see. This is what prophets saw in visions and wrote down for us. God has moved the final pieces of the end times into place, not through war or conquest, but through hearts open to his love. Not through human wisdom, but through divine revelation that transcends every barrier we built between us. The three leaders embraced as the sun reached its full strength. Around them, hundreds of believers from every nation continued to worship together, languages and traditions blending into one voice of praise. "This is how it begins," whispered Rabbi Goldstein. "This is how it was always meant to be," added Father Constantine. "This is how it will be forever," concluded Imam al-Rashid. "Now that you know this, what will you do about it? The age of division is ending. The time of unity has begun. Are you ready to be part of what God is doing in the earth? While the world sleeps, God is calling those who are awake. While others build walls, he is breaking them down. While people see differences, he reveals the family we've always been. Write in the comments, "Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus." Share this message with every believer who needs hope. Like this video if you understand that love has already won. The Jerusalem awakening is spreading to every nation. Believers around the world are feeling the same call, experiencing the same unity, preparing for the same glorious future. What happened on the Temple Mount is happening in hearts everywhere. The kingdom of heaven isn't coming someday. It's breaking through today, one heart at a time, one prayer at a time, one moment of divine love at a time. Until we meet in glory, stay ready, stay faithful, stay united in love. Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus. The dawn has broken. The new day has begun.